katılıyorum. Sorry, before we begin, I'm just gonna remind everybody if you're gonna speak so that everyone can hear you, please find your nearest unit and press the right side.
Okay.
Then they'll be able to hear you.
Can you make us make the conference more visible more? So
Yes.
All right, good morning. Good morning to our delegate in Washington, D.C. You're in D.C.? Half a day. All right, this is our press conference. Today is Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. We're here to share what we went through on this long trip, a week in D.C. and a couple of days in Hawaii. Before we start, Governor Apting would like to say a few things.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our press this morning. This morning we're going to talk about our trip to Washington, several days in Hawaii for our national conference. Just want to say good morning to our Congresswoman here in D.C. Congresswoman, thank you. Good morning, and thank you for all your support when we're there. I know that you cleared the barbecue and the cold weather, but we appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's been a busy week in Washington, since day one. We all went there as a team. We have our teams here from Governor's Council and private sector, Chamber of Commerce, and business people, MBA, so we can all do our part in Washington to see what we can get from the Department of Interior and other federal department agencies that we can avail to, we can meet. So, with the help on the first 2 days, we have the manual tool. And then second day we have the IGIA, and then of course the governor's conference. Manual 2 actually was on the first day was there, joined by a congresswoman. Was pretty successful, and then we have I think we have all the departments from the federal agencies there to join us that morning. Same as the second day, the IGIA, we have Department of Interior there. Of course, our Congresswoman is there with us, to work with us and continue to present the issues in the Commonwealth. So I want to thank her for doing that. I know she has a lot of schedules in DC, but she made the time to join the group and to work with us and to pursue our issues here in the Commonwealth. So I will give you a chance to say something later on. But for this morning press conference, I'm going to give everybody a chance to discuss what they did in DC. Because after the IGIA, we had a breakout session where you can take the opportunity and sit down with the different departments and agencies that they need to talk to about the need of the Commonwealth. So I think I did my part here. I visited a lot of agencies also. I had a one-on-one with the Secretary of Homeland Security. It was very fruitful meeting with her, and I will be writing her a letter thanking her for giving me the opportunity to meet with her in person. And I think she's very receptive about our issues here in the Commonwealth. Hopefully we can get some changes as far as federal policy is concerned. And then on the way back from DC, we stopped by Hawaii for a national conference, and then there was the Deputy Secretary of State that was part of the conference, so talk about Commonwealth also, about our issues here. And we need a lot of policy, federal policy that needs to be looked at and changed. Those that are really affecting our livelihood here in the Commonwealth, especially our tourism industry. the airline industry and other immigration issues, and that is really hampering our economic livelihood here in the Commonwealth. Talking about airlines, labor, TV staff and all that, so those are on the table with the federal government. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Congresswoman to say something. Good morning.
Good evening and good morning. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Governor, for the opportunity to be a part of the conversation. I know that traditionally that's not how we normally engage with the 902, but I thought it was incredibly helpful to be able to be a part of the conversation and to listen in on the CNMI's ask, because at the end of the day, my job here as the delegate is to be able to take your asks and work on the federal level, on the congressional side, to be able to push for those policy changes. I also want to express my gratitude and appreciation for the team for coming together and putting together a great presentation to the different agencies. Sometimes the biggest challenge is not knowing where we want to go and how we're going to go about asking it. And the one thing that was made very clear during these conversations, whether it be the 902 or the IGIA, is that we are all asking for the same things, and we are all bringing up the same issues, and we are all prioritizing them in the matter of urgency. And so, I just want to congratulate you for putting the team together that successfully executed, and your delegate office was all too pleased to be able to support your endeavors, because after all, we are here to serve, and we are here to push for the needs of the people of the Commonwealth through your direction and leadership. And so, job well done, everybody. I know that it wasn't easy to travel this far, and I know a lot of criticism comes with bringing a big entourage, but some of these asks are better made in person. But also, I thought that it was a good opportunity for Team CNMI to see firsthand and to hear firsthand the challenges that we face in terms of the types of narratives that are being perpetuated here in DC that continues to hamper our ability to push through some of these policies. And so that's why I've been always very vocal and pushing for a united voice, a united front, for a one team, one fight, one team CNMI approach. And that's exactly what Team CNMI did. And this week I've been getting callbacks from different high-level stakeholders wanting to get more information to see if there could be some administrative fixes to some of your asks, Governor. And we'll continue to work on getting them the right information. So I just want to say thank you again for the opportunity to be able to support the mission and to be a part of the conversation.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman. Thank you for joining us. I know it's almost midnight here, so we need to get some rest. Thank you.
Okay, so our first day in DC was on February 18th. That was the 902 consultation. We'll go through that first, and then we'll have our team members say something about the engagement during that meeting. It was a 2.5-hour meeting with our federal counterpart, and it was a great exchange. I think we left DC with a 902 that's well structured now, where it's more defined. We know where to go. We established working groups, and there are, I think, 4 or 5 working groups, and we have the leads for those working groups here. They can share something about their working group, and the timeline that we have to submit a report to the both sides, Sinai and the U.S. team. So, who would want to go first? Who's leading the working groups?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. Firstly, let me just say that I've been had the privilege and the honor of serving on 902 teams for 3 governors, and I think the governor did an outstanding job of this round of 902 talks. Congratulations, Governor. You made us very proud. It was articulate. It was sincere. It was factual in his presentations. His responses were on point, and I think that made a huge difference, Governor, in how we communicated our situation today and what we need. And I know that you've read in different reports how our mission in BC was not to ask for handouts, but for hand-ups. As cliche as that might sound, it's true. And we've proven to the world that we have the ability to build an economy that can sustain its own government operations and provide jobs and revenues for businesses and take care of its people. We've proven that. And a big ask in DC was, provide us the tools, make the regulatory changes that are needed to restore those tools to the CNMI so that we can rebuild our economy. We've done it before and we can do it again, but we need federal assistance. As the delegate mentioned and as the governor mentioned, one of the big differences, Governor, I saw in the team this time around is a unified front. And I commend all those who participated. The governor and his team, his chief of staff, and senior policy advisor, secretary of finance, budget special assistant, and military representatives on CNI government, members from MBA board. I'm on the CEDA board. In the government sector was well represented, good cross-section of people who contributed to the discussions and the conversations that were critical. The 902 meeting, as formal as it used to be, now was more, I think, more cordial, a lot of good exchange of communication from both sides. And that meeting did not end on that Tuesday. There were follow-up meetings after that. Immediately after that meeting, I had the opportunity to join the governor in follow-up discussions with interior officials to continue to highlight our situation here and our need. So I think the government sector was well represented. Delegate King Hines and her team, Matt Guerrero, Chris Conception, Art Yamada, and the whole office did a tremendous job at helping to establish contacts in the federal government and the U.S. Congress so that when we got there, we made the most of our time. And these formal meetings are a good opportunity, but it's the agency meetings, the meetings of government officials, high-level officials, congressional staff. I think we made a lot of good progress in communicating our situation. So thank you, Kim and your team. And then the private sector. It's not cheap to go to DC. It's not easy to go to DC in February. It was quite cold, but we had good representation of the private sector. Joe Guerrero representing the Economic Council, who's also a local businessman and well-versed on economic issues. Alex Soblan, very experienced and resourceful. He's got decades of experience dealing with federal issues, airlines, tourism. He contributed immensely to the conversations. We had Dr. Joshua Weiss, the president of the Cyber Chamber, was a great presence and added a lot of relevance to the discussions because he represents the largest business organization here. And then there are others. Jennifer Tansu from Tom Plaza. I was very impressed with her knowledge of the issues and the facts, and she was very, very powerful in communicating. You know, at these breakout meetings that we had with various offices in the federal government. And former, of course, and I was going to acknowledge Judge West Bogdan, former Judge West Bogdan, who took the lead in the 902 discussions. Judge, you did an outstanding job and made us all very proud. And of course, our counsel, Matt Adams, who also provided a lot of good research support to the team. So I was very pleased with how unified we were. There was a lot of preparatory work. His secretary, Norita, and Special Assistant Bill Gomez know a lot of preparatory work before the meeting, a lot of work during the meetings, and immediately after the meetings, we're still working. So we're hopeful that we have a 30-day deadline, Governor, to provide committee reports, working group reports. So and then we go from there. And of course, we all know the situation we're in and the need for some immediate assistance. Hopefully, some of that will come through as well. And I know other issues, Governor, EPS staff, and all around.
I just want to mention that our group that went to DC have been around. We know the story. It's a long story of our efforts to improve our economy. The U.S. side, President Trump came into office last year. This is his first term. First year in his 4-year term. Brand new cabinet. Many of them have to hear about CNMI. They've not been here when late Governor Blasius initiated the 902 discussion with the U.S. side. It was President Biden who was in office. And Trump took over, brand new cabinet members, and this trip is productive in a way that we met with cabinet members and their staff to tell them about our struggles, our needs, our asks. So it's making them hear the new players in the federal government about CNMI.
Governor, I think I would be remiss if I don't also acknowledge the assistance of your DC-based advisors, Jason Osborne and Mary Cole. Wow, they did a tremendous job. I think we can all agree at setting up meetings. And
Jason up here?
Yes, Jason.
oh, is Jason there?
Yes.
Oh, great. And Jason,
Morning, Jason.
I didn't know that. And Jason and Mary did an amazing job at preparing a lot of these officials, high-level officials that we met with, briefing them in advance and setting up the meetings and just participating with us in the meetings. We were very productive. Thank you, Jason. I know, Governor, and everyone, that I'll miss some names, but it was a great team effort. We're not done yet, so still a lot of work ahead. I think we'll make good balance.
Thank you, Mike. Secretary.
Good morning, media partners, and thank you, Governor, and thank you, Mike and Henry, for that intro. Our part in the fiscal working group for the 902 team, I just want to provide some background. We were there in September of 2025 where we made the initial ask for at least $61 million in immediate funding assistance. And we've been working since then with follow-up meetings, virtual meetings, and ultimately the CNMI did receive a $5.5 million grant to help us with critical expenditures and obligations. That funding came with requirements, which meant fiscal reforms, a development of a fiscal reform plan, austerity measures, establishment of a revenue council, and the way that we will develop future budgets, including catching up with our single audits. And so with this February meeting, we asked for a follow-up to that initial request in which we were told no further funding will be made available. There is no funding vehicle to provide us with that initial funding assistance that we requested. And so I'd just like for stakeholders to understand that we are not expecting second quarter funding. However, we did meet with Interior officials and we communicated to them that in all the meetings that we are having with the entire team, if no federal actions are taken, the FY 2027 fiscal year looks like it will get worse. And that is simply because we have obligations, and that if the economic activity does not improve, our forecast is looking like it will go down. And so this meeting was very important to communicate all the different areas that need federal intervention, federal assistance, federal action, so that we don't reach that point. So after that conversation, we did move forward with an agreement to form the multi-year funding working group so that we can develop a plan for when there is a vehicle to fund a multi-year funding agreement. In that funding agreement, we are talking about the $60 million a year in federal funds that will go toward economic development and government operations at this time. The working group is continuing our discussions on what the details of that multi-year funding framework will look like. Like Mike said, we have 30 days to finalize this, so this will be our team, in addition to the federal team, to work out this funding agreement. We also have a working group for tax cover over, and this is an ongoing discussion. The CNMI's position is that we are requesting the IRS to interpret Section 603B of the covenant in regards to corporate income tax, which could potentially yield to the CNMI an additional $20 million in cover over funds. At this meeting in February, the initial position of the IRS is that they are in disagreement with our position. However, we are pushing back with our own arguments, which we believe have a strong foundation based on the fact that we have a covenant agreement with the United States. We have the Attorney General's office assisting and supporting our group on cover over, and we will continue the conversation. But the CNMI intends to maintain our position that the CNMI is entitled to additional cover over funds. Ultimately, the message in the 902 from the fiscal team is that federal administrative actions that are capable of helping to restore economic activity in the near term is essential, especially since there is no current funding vehicle to help us with our immediate needs. And so, again, the continuing conversations will happen in the next 30 days. Our working groups are meeting virtually. We are meeting with Interior weekly, and we hope to have a final multi-year funding agreement. And we also look forward to a final position on the tax cover over issue.
Could you explain that a little bit, Secretary, about the cover over? Explain what that is for folks and what that $20 million represents.
So the cover over is taxes that are derived from activity within the CNMI. And so if taxes are being paid on activity that are derived from the CNMI but paid to U.S. Treasury, we are entitled to those funds based on the covenant for those funds to be returned to the CNMI.
So like companies that are in the mainland that are doing business out here, like for military development and all that stuff?
Yes, exactly. And so I'd like to take more questions, but I think I'd like to give a chance to the other working groups to share
Why don't we move to each lead for the working group, and then we'll pause there. Take a few questions.
Great.
We can get moving. So that was the multi-year financing cover over working group. Department of War, we have a working group, and BJ Nicholas is the, or you want? Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Governor, and everybody. Our delegate, Kim Hines, also good morning or good evening from your side. So the CNMI seeks a multi-year financial assistance amounting approximately $429.1 million, delivered an annual allocation of $61.3 million, and a portion between operations and economic development and infrastructure, with a percent allocation between year 1 and year 4, and gradually adjusting forward between year 5 through year 7. So the first 4 years would be an allocation of 40/60. The 5th year would be 30/70. The 6th year would be 20/80, and then on the 7th year would be 15/85. So for operations, it's to continue to support our essential government services, our regulatory capacity, financial management, workforce development and administrative modernization needed for effective program delivery. For our economic development and infrastructure side, we want to continue to fund industry diversification, small business support, workforce training, infrastructure upgrades, broadband expansion, our utilities, our port development, hospital and transportation improvements. So the cost allocation that we had followed was the same cost allocation that we continue to use today with our current 702 capital improvement program. Currently, Saipan receives 75%, Senior and Rota gets an allocation of 12.5%. But to address high logistics costs and ensure dedicated share for remote communities, this plan adjusts the distributions to 74% for Saipan and maintain Senior and Rota at 12.5%, but include an allocation of 1% for the northern islands. And so, the combined effect of structural limitation and policy-driven barriers has created recurring fiscal instability that the CNMI cannot resolve without federal partnership. To stabilize our government operations, modernize critical infrastructure, and support long-term economic diversification, the Commonwealth has arrived at this multi-year financial assistance with the amount of $429.1 million, or delivered in annual allocations of 61.3. A percent allocation, like I mentioned earlier, is proposed beginning years 1 and 2, 4, and then gradually adjusted in years 5 to 7.
That's your 7-year plan.
This is the 7-year.
Okay. UW?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. The Department of War and the CNMI are engaged in conversations right now, nothing official, in regards to some of the opportunistic aspects that would benefit and have mutual benefit between the CNMI and the Department of War. Some of the opportunities we are looking at is increased port visits, as the Special Assistant for OMB mentioned, infrastructure improvements to airports and seaports, to include also utilities that would better position the CNMI to support DoD initiatives, in addition to providing for a sustained opportunity for lower costs in our community regarding energy needs and things to that effect. We're still currently in negotiations, be it informal at this point, and as we continue to progress forward in the coming weeks, we do have more engagements with DOW, Joint Region Marianas, and Joint Task Force Micronesia to ensure that any proposals that are being forwarded to the CNMI have a nexus that provides for better opportunity for the people of the Commonwealth.
Okay, in addition to that, I've been talking to the DOW also, the Joint Region Marianas, where we'll be having a session tomorrow. And one of the issues is I highly encourage for them to start getting some submarines to visit us here in the Commonwealth. Because every submarine that comes in, it's actually manned about over 1,000 sailors, you know. And if they spend about a week here, that's about a week people occupying the hotels. So I keep pushing those ships to come in, and we're working on some regulatory issues where the destroyer comes in and they're going to do maintenance here. You know, we can be cleared by environmental issues. So those are the things that we're working on. And I've been asking DOW to I want as many military activities here in the Commonwealth as soon as possible. So that's part of our economic assistance for especially the hotel industries and the MBA. So thank you, and next.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, Governor. Immigration and skill labor, who's leading that?
CJ Ramirez.
CJ.
Everyone hear me?
Good.
Yes. Okay, great. There might be a bit of a delay. Cedar Rios, Executive Director of the Government Council of Economic Advisors. I'm the CMI lead for the Immigration and Labor Working Group. Federal co-lead for this is Lori Burke, who's the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Immigration Policy at the Department of Homeland Security. We've been meeting weekly in the last 2 weeks, and luckily I met Lori in the past, and we have a bit of a rapport already. But at least on the CNMI side, we're really working at how we can expand workforce development and meet the federal administration's labor needs and the prioritization of U.S. workers while still maintaining this understanding that we have very specific needs in the common law. On the CNMI team, I've been fortunate enough to pull in 2 directors from the CNMI Department of Labor, our Director for Labor Enforcement, our Director for Employment Services, who are going to be providing assistance in the labor front in terms of helping us bridge some data gaps. CNMI Department of Commerce, the Central Staff Division, is also going to help provide some statistics support, and luckily we're also able to get Melissa Graybrook, who many of us are familiar with from IGIA, to assist with our working group to provide economic assistance. She's the economist for IGIA at the moment. But we've created a clear pathway. We're meeting weekly. Federal asks right now are for the CNMI to help publish some metrics to determine volume and backlog and things like that. And our ask to the federal government, one of those, trying to see what the transition framework is going to look like outside of a legislative fix. While we appreciate the Congresswoman, introducing a successor framework, we're looking at immediate administrative action in the interim while the legislative movements are taking place. We're able to meet with the Department of Homeland Security, both the Secretary, the Governor's able to meet with the Secretary. We also met with officials from the Department of Homeland Security, and our private sector partners in the room might be able to talk on that when we continue to discuss the week. But that was also a fruitful meeting. We kind of cleared up some stigma and some misinformation that came about in the meeting the last few weeks when it comes to the Commonwealth's very specific transitional worker program. But I'm happy to take more questions later when it comes to this working group, and we're excited and we're moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Clemente.
Before we move on, does anyone that went on the trip want to add to the CGA's comments? No. All right, so let's move on to tourism and transportation. Joe?
Update Joe, Governor Ten and Delegate King Hines. Thank you for including the Governor's Council, myself representing the Council and the private sector in the 902 discussions. I've not at least seen, to my understanding, the level of involvement that the business community has had this round. So I think it's very important to point out that we're working together, private sector and government, we're all in this together, and very proud to be part of this team, along with everyone that went to DC. And again, thank you also for inviting myself, along with Alex Sablon, Chair of the Tourism Recovery Task Force, to co-lead and represent the CNMI, the Tourism and Transportation Working Group. Some of the key issues that we're looking into in order of priority is looking at air service issues, including Annex 6 of the 2007 U.S.-China Air Transport Agreement. Our approach is basically look at things that can provide us immediate relief, right? But no one is saying that any one of these initiatives are the silver bullet to our economic problems. So we're tackling issues one by one in terms of what can provide us the immediate relief. As Secretary of Finance mentioned, we're really in a dire situation economically. And the other things that we're also looking at is the inclusion of the Republic of the Philippines into these the countries listed under the Guam CNMI Visa Waiver Program. Again, a program like that could provide, again, not a silver bullet, but it's some immediate relief to help our situation. Other key things that we're discussing in the working group, as well as in subsequent meetings with Department of Commerce, was leveraging the trade and investment agreements between the U.S. and South Korea and the U.S. and Japan. Things look promising there, but they're very in the initial phases. And we're involved in, the private sector is involved in helping, assisting the governor's office and working through those agreements and maybe bridging the investments if it doesn't seem in mind. So more on that later. Last but not least, seriously looking at the removal of cabotage restrictions. For the first time in recent time, the Department of War is concerned about cabotage and how it's affecting their ability to build up in the region, in Guam and the Marianas. Cabotage restrictions are limiting us, have limited the community for many years, but now the Department of War, a very important federal partner in the region, is now being affected, and so we welcome their support in looking at ways to help air service connectivity to the island. So if I missed anything, Alex, if you would like to.
Sure. Thank you, Joe. Governor, Representative, Delegate King Hines. Thank you for the opportunity, Governor, and I share everybody's sentiment that it was a good effort to be over there and to provide a lot of information strategically of the meetings that were set up by you, Special Assistant for Policy by Narita, Chief of Staff Howard Schneider, and Jason Osborne and Mary Cole were strategic in the importance that we wanted to meet with groups and agencies that have been somewhat critical of CNMI issues and to kind of dispel a lot of the issues that have been played out through media and really a time frame that was focused in on a discretionary parole program of recent past, and we wanted to bring a lot of the information forward that plays out in this current timeline under EBS TAP. And so our meetings were fruitful. Our ability to communicate the conditions on the ground today with many agencies of the federal government. And again, we're strategic in the importance to lay out what we need to do further, if there's any need further, to mitigate and close some of these gaps that have been concerns of U.S. Congress, both the 24 representatives of Congress a year and a half ago that wrote a letter, and the more recent Senate communication that we wanted to provide good information, and we believe structurally things have improved. From DHS, they told us that our overstay rate is at less than a quarter percentile, which is significantly improved from the past. And so again, a lot of these conversations, along with the working group, are to dispel a lot of the myths, to move forward with mitigation, and to attempt to try to implement some of these programs that, as we stipulated at the 902, are really initiatives that the federal government could provide today at no cost to the federal government, but would be absolutely empowering for the CNMI to get back and to move forward with this economy. And a lot of this has to do with aircraft and movement of people into the CNMI, to the point that Congresswoman continually says is bringing the customers to the CNMI. And that is the intent behind our effort in the working groups, and we're hopeful that we are successful in the conversations to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Before we take any more questions, are there any comments from the team members that were in DC? Or you can chime in and respond to questions. All right.
I just have one, but I do want to say that I attended, basically to support the core delegation on tourism. And I want to say that the amount of alignment between everybody and the message was very clear. And it focused a lot on tourism and how we can help ourselves, and how we're not asking for, fund. We need funding, but we're not depending on that, because funding will be will help us maybe in the short term, but we're asking for assistance, federal assistance, change in policy that can set us up for long-term economic growth. And I think that message was very clear, and I thank the governor for really being a advocate for our island and for tourism, as well as Congresswoman King Hines and everybody who attended. On the MBE side, we also attended Brand USA, which is the official U.S. destination branding marketing company, marketing agency. And what we were very happy to hear is that their key focus markets for the U.S. includes Korea and Japan, which is also our main markets. And we've been given some great opportunities to join in on their sales missions and their trade missions in the next few months to help promote the CNMI. And we're very excited and looking forward to doing that in the next few months.
Thank you.
All right, we just had a power surge or something and everything went off.
Let's just pause. And let's get the power. It's kicking in right now.
So you guys should go down to the power plant and check what's going on. And having this.
Last time they did that.
Oh, yeah. We have the president of the Chamber of Commerce, Dr. Wise. You want to say something while we're waiting for the
Sorry, just give us 1 minute. Our lines are still.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back.
Long trip. Are we on? Not yet. So we'll have Dr. Wise make a few comments, and then we'll go to people online and ask former judge Wes Buckton to say a few things. Matt Adams? Oh, Matt Guerrero. Yeah, he's there. Yeah, he's right here. So Dr. Wise, Wes Buckton, and then Matt Guerrero, and maybe Jason Osborne. And then questions?
So folks, we're just waiting right now for the power to come back on. I guess there's another trip over there at CUC, the back of John Deere sticking on over here. So we're trying to get power to the phone unit and trying to get some customers who are online visiting us doing the teleconference online as well.
Good example of our meetings.
Can we use this break to ask you a couple of questions now?
Sure.
You mentioned, Jason Osborne's assistance with us and everything. He's no stranger to the CNMI and everything. Is he officially part of the CNMI's team, or is he part of the business, or how are we retaining his services?
Recording in progress.
Are they bringing us back on, or?
You're on. You're on. You are back.
They're back on, yeah. Here they are.
Yeah, you're back online now.
Except for the mic.
Mics are good.
Yeah.
Hit the lights switch.
Has the CNMI retained his services, or is he funded publicly or privately?
No, we're not paying him his time. Just our friend,
We can see you, but we can't hear anybody yet.
Okay, I think the mics are back on, so can you hear us, Judge?
Yes, now we can.
All right, so we'll go with Dr. Weiss first, and then you, and then Matt Guerrero, and then Jason.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say it was great to be up there representing the private sector, and I really just want to echo what Jamaica and Gov was saying. It really was a strongly unified front. Gov was really driving the point home that we're looking for a hand up and not a handout, and with these working groups that were put together, they're able to really navigate through these things that we need, and I think I'm seeing that there's a lot of progress being made, and we're looking forward to this 30-day timeline and coming back to the table with them and seeing what kind of further progress we can make. But I'm glad that they were insistent on a 30-day timeline and not letting this kind of just dissolve into conversation. That they are wanting this to be fruitful, and all the agencies seem like they really want to help us, and so that was a very positive note that I took. But that's it for me.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc. Wes, Judge.
Thank you, Governor, Madam Delegate, everyone in the room. Just very briefly, it's a real honor again to be part of this 902. And I would like to especially thank the Governor for being able to work so well with the Deputy Assistant, Mr. Haig. I think that relationship did two things. It stressed the fact that we need help as soon as possible. And it also was a collaborative effort. I think, as everyone has kind of mentioned in the room today, and something that might be most helpful for the press to know is that what we've done is we've gone and asked for as much help as we can without requiring any type of additional congressional action. We're using existing laws, interpretations, policy decisions to try and shape those to fit what's happening in the CNMI today. And again, the Governor's relationship with the Deputy Assistant Haig, I think, showed that the federal partners are really willing to work with us. There's no antagonism. There wasn't a confrontation. It was all very supportive. It's a great honor for me just to try to work on the background, the legal technicalities, the nuts and bolts, to give advice to the members of the team and to see them do the work on behalf of the CNMI. So I'll just kind of leave it right there for now.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Judge, Matt?
Yeah, thank you, Governor, and hello, everybody. I don't have very much to say outside of what the Congressman already provided, other than thank you for allowing us to be part of the conversation. Thank you for having us continue to join in these dialogues as we go forward. And that I think the importance of this meeting is that federal policy, government policy generally, is not set in stone. It evolves, it changes, but it doesn't change on its own. It takes the action and the advocacy and the conversations and information from those who see the benefit from policy changes to be the critical component to seeing it actually happen. And so having the wide range of individuals involved in this conversation, providing information, providing what the needs are, is incredibly important, and we're very appreciative to be a part of it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Jason?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot more to add except to, just commend everybody that's in the room there that came out to DC. We had a trip in December, and we also had this last trip. And, one thing that strikes me is different this time around than in previous, over the past 15 years of doing this, is just the collective unity that we have on board here, the historical perspective that each one of the folks that were in DC brought to the table was incredibly important, and you're seeing, minds being changed and eyes being opened in terms of, what it is that the CNMI has been trying to do and trying to convey to the federal government. And it's pretty impressive. I would also commend the governor. He
He was put in some situations that probably didn't expect to be in. For as long as he was, we had almost 90 minutes with Secretary of Homeland Security, which I think I was pleasantly surprised, thinking we would get maybe 20. He took the opportunity to really kind of lay out all of the problems and really hit back at some of the false narratives that have been played about the CNMI. Additionally, the governor, I had 3 calls this week, a little more after the dinner at the White House with the president, folks saying how the governor went up to Stephen Miller and even conveyed to him how important it was for the president to step in and help. And so we certainly had an impact in DC. The Congresswoman and her staff have been amazing. And everybody there at the table, Secretary Narita, she's a rock star, and I know the folks at Treasury really appreciate her and just her grasp of knowledge, as well as everybody else. So that's all I had.
Thank you, Jason, and thanks to Mary also. I told these guys that you are my CIA agent over there. Appreciate it. So continue to work, and thank you for your service to the Commonwealth.
And now you're out in the open.
Yeah, exactly.
He wants his badge.
It's very critical to note that every day when you drive down our local highways and you see businesses closing up, the hotels are dark, no tourists. This is what it's all about, right? A trip to DC, we come back and hope that we continue the conversations with our federal partners to see those lights back on, to see people on the road, tourists at the hotels and shopping stores and everything else. So no matter how much we criticize what we're doing, it's to get us back. So let's take questions. Cool. Matt Adams? Is he there? He's not. No, he's not. Okay. So I think we got everybody. It's time for questions.
But it sounds like you got to put together a good team. The CNMI was all on the same page when you went down there. You know, one of the things, Secretary, you mentioned was that there's not a second round of funding that's coming in, like what we were asking for. You mentioned a fiscal reform plan that we were supposed to put together after their first visit. Save for the austerity, has there been any fiscal reform plan that had been enacted, any directives that were given to government agencies that would show that we actually took a step forward in that process?
Yes, of course. So part of the process for developing the fiscal reform plan was the establishment of the fiscal reform committee, which the governor took action right away when we came home in September. Our deadline was to have our fiscal reform plan submitted to Interior by the end of November, which we did. And like you said, it included austerity measures, but not only that austerity measures take effect this year, but that it continues until we get ourselves out of this situation. Additionally, it was to establish, part of our plan was to establish the Governor's Revenue Council so that we have more stakeholder involvement in the formulation of our budget. And so currently the Governor's established Revenue Council, we have been meeting and we have a report that is due to the Governor, and we will get that out soon. Other requirements of the fiscal reform plan was to catch up with our audits. And so as you know, the Governor executed his executive order establishing the single audit committee, which includes OPA, the Office of Grants Management, and the Office of Management and Budget, to really go for this unprecedented timeline where we are trying to catch up with 3 years of audits in 1 year, and that has never been done before. And I think the collaboration that we've had so far is just something that I've never seen before, and I'm very proud of the teams that have come together to help us move along. We have engagement with EY, Ernst & Young, our external auditor, and it is also very difficult for them, considering that there is an accounting shortage in the region, and that all other Pacific governments are also struggling with the same thing with their single audits. And so that's a major component of our fiscal reform that Interior is just zooming into. And so the governor has made every effort, every single cabinet meeting, reminding all cabinet members to take the single audit seriously. And then in addition to just the fiscal management aspect of our reforms, it includes legislative reforms. It includes economic activity, which I believe, I'm not sure who led that initiative for the one-stop. That was part of the fiscal reform plan. And so we are taking every action that we can immediately to implement some of these fiscal reforms. And so those milestones are being monitored with Interior. And like I said, we meet with them on a weekly basis. And we do have reporting on that because of the first round of, or what we hoped was the first round of funding assistance for that $5.5 million grant to help us with just government operations.
But that's your department that's doing all that great work. But has there been anything that's been issued, like maybe government-wide, maybe one example of something, a directive that's been given to every agency, every employee, that they must do this to help reduce costs and
I
spending?
believe all of the governor's directives and executive orders apply to all the agencies. The single audit committee, all the work that we do apply to all the agencies. The directive on cost containment measures, it applies to everybody. And so I believe it's not just finance, it's everybody pitching in, cutting their hours, conserving energy, transitioning to prepaid meters. That's one fiscal reform initiative as well. To reduce the cost of utilities, we've transitioned to prepaid meters for all government agencies. There are a few that are not able to because maybe they're lease or something like that. But a major effort is undertaken to do that.
Excuse me, Krista. One of the important things that was discussed, like what Judge just mentioned, some of these asks, it can be addressed through immediate administrative action, which means the president can execute executive order or the departments can use their discretion. So my question is, what are the response? Any indication that they're going to be doing it this way from the key senior federal officials? Any response from them? Any indication they're going to do it that way?
Yeah, if you want me to take that.
Yes. Yes, please.
The reality is that we've been preparing, we have given the federal government and this administration plenty of different options in trying to work with them on every single proposal that we've put forward, from Annex 6 to KFTC to air service and the trade agreements. They're actively working on how to help us in those endeavors. There are some things that are just completely out of our control that we're having to compete against, but a big part of it is the fact that they're listening and they're continuing to engage, which is something that I haven't seen in a very long time, not only at the career level at the different agencies, but also at the political level. Keeping in mind, I know it was mentioned earlier that we're dealing with a lot of folks that have not had awareness of the Northern Mariana Islands before in their previous jobs or even in their current jobs. And so, the collective group that has come to DC now twice, and I anticipate more, we do spend a lot of our time educating. So to answer your question, yes, we've received nothing but positive feedback that at least they are examining everything. We also know that, and the Congresswoman has been great about this too, is that we're not taking no for an answer necessarily. We're continuing to go back and offering out other alternatives and other solutions in different ways. One thing that hasn't been mentioned, I don't think, as well, just to put in there, was the inclusion in FIFA. The governor and the team, we've had several meetings with the White House, and so we're actively working to try and get the CNMI included within FIFA as the only territory currently that's not in. So.
Governor, can you talk about, there's a proposal to cut entirely the Chinese tourists with a ban on a Chinese visa waiver program by Senator Rick Scott. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, that's one of the issues that I discussed with the Homeland Security Secretary, that we need help from that. We need to change the policy on that. We don't want to cut any Chinese tourists coming according to the CMI. One of the issues that the Chinese can land in Los Angeles airline, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't come to the Commonwealth. We're closer to China than anybody else. So I asked her to look into that and see if we can get help, getting the Chinese airline to come into the Commonwealth and, do away some of the restrictions, the federal restrictions that they imposed on us here in the Commonwealth. We are a U.S. Commonwealth.
But speaking with DHS, there's still continued support for the China visa waiver program?
There? So, if you want me to take that, I can, Mark. On the first question that you asked, Mark, this was on Senator Scott. We did go in, a group of the business community went in and met with Senator Scott's staff in trying to clear up some of the misconceptions that they have, again, false information, false narratives that they have. And clearly they haven't thought through their proposal, because their proposal that they're putting forward would be to do away with the Guam CNMI visa waiver program and have everybody be on the same level. Well, the problem with that is their goal is to end birthright citizenship, but those visas that the Chinese are currently using to go to CONUS are 10-year visas, so they're not really accomplishing much if they're giving a 10-year visa, and at any point in time, a Chinese national can go to the U.S. on that visa, get pregnant, and deliver a baby. So we're working through with Senator Scott's folks and others. We don't anticipate that legislation is actually going to move forward. The second part, or your follow-up question with regard to, is there support for the Chinese tourists coming in on the current visa as it is at DHS? And the answer is, there is general support. I would say that, the folks at the operational level at CBP have expressed, extreme satisfaction with the EDS TAP program and their screening process. The fact that, as Alex mentioned, or somebody else at the table mentioned, that we're 0.02% of overstayers. That's before we had signed the 287G agreement with DHS, so I can anticipate that number is going to go down as well. We are caught, unfortunately, in a broader global geopolitical issue. And so our task, and the business community and the governor did a great job expressing this, is that, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater necessarily, that anything they do with regard to China affects us much more than it does anywhere else. And so I think we will continue to see efforts made to limit the Chinese influence in the U.S., and we just have to be hyper vigilant in making sure that our arguments are being put forward, and the supporters that we have in other federal agencies like DOW, DOT, DOI, Department of Labor, are all with us on this, and they understand where we're coming from. So we're cautiously optimistic at this point.
So Gov, that's already a couple of good answers that we've gotten from Jason, and we saw the photos from DHS, and he was the only other person allowed in the room with you from representing the CNMI with the Homeland Security Secretary. Can you please explain the relationship with Jason and how he's a part of this, and if he's funded and by who, and how he's helping us?
Jason is a volunteer helping the Commonwealth. He's been helping the Commonwealth for the longest time, so I'm very happy that we're working together in Washington. Like I said, he's my agent over there, and I appreciate him helping us. The first day we got here, he's there meeting us, and he pretty much scheduled a lot of the appointments to all the departments for all of us here. So he's got a lot of contact in Washington, and knows a lot of people in Washington. So it's good to have him as part of the team here in the Commonwealth. Thank you, Jason and Mary.
Jason, can you explain why you're so generous to us here in the Commonwealth?
It's because every time I come on island, Scotty gives me a free beer at Godfather's. No, it's look, Brad, you and I have known each other for a very long time. I've been in and around the CNMI since 08, 09 time, and a lot of my dearest friends live in the CNMI, and they're from the CNMI,
And so, I'm very passionate about the work that I do for the CNMI. I reached out to the governor and others and said, I'm happy to help, and I don't need anything in return. And I would do it all over again and again and again. Everyone that's sitting around that table right now, I deeply admire and respect, and I love what I do. So,
Thank you.
Brad, if I may just add, first of all, thank you again, Jason, and your colleague, Mary. But Jason is not the only volunteer in the group. Looking at this table, Alex Sablan, not compensated by the government, to my knowledge, Alex, and Joe Guerrero, Dr. Weiss, and myself. We all have a love for the Commonwealth, and we're all volunteering our time and expenses to help where we can. So, Jason, thank you for your volunteerism, and as well, Alex, Joe, Dr. Weiss, and myself.
Can we talk about the issue on power? There's a current ask from CUC to the Department of War to fund $700 million to replace their engines. I know Mr. Shernis Nicolas left, but any update on that, Henry?
We're coordinating that with the OLDCC. We're having a regional economic adjustment committee sometime this month or later this month. It's going to be in San Francisco. CUC has submitted a list of things they want to improve, and it's estimated around $800, $700 million. So, and they're not going to get everything. If we're lucky, we'll get 100 million for CUC. It's a process that we need to work with our federal partners. It's related to the military buildup in TN, and hopefully we'll see some activities in Saipan and Angola as well. So we're putting those together.
For MVA, can you give us an update? I know we talked about the Guam, CNMI, China visa waiver. Can you talk about what's the status on Korean Airlines, Jeju, and T-Way? Are they still canceling flights by March? End of March?
Yeah, questions. So there are updates. We have discussed both with T-Way and Jeju, and we have some updates that we plan to share very soon. If you go online, you can already see that T-Way has uploaded their summer schedule for booking. And Jeju, we're still working some details out. So we will have a separate conference on that later on.
How about Philippine Airlines? Sorry.
If I may just add, I know it's a pressing issue throughout the community, the tourism industry in particular. But so that, in fact, the key reasons why T-Way and Jeju are having difficulties, the effects of the Korean and Asiana merger agreement, and the subsequent requirement by the Korean government to maintain 90% flight capacity to Guam, not the CNMI. And that has created a disruption in pricing and capacity for the region, which unfortunately is affecting T-Way and Jeju to the CNMI. So at all the meetings, including 902, it was brought up as that was one of the key issues that we're currently working in the tourism working group to address. And we are asking the federal government for some diplomatic pathways between the U.S. government at the highest levels and the Korean government to first let them know that we are being impacted, small little U.S. community are being impacted by this merger agreement that we have no part in. So we're hopeful, and the federal partners are listening and are engaging, and should be reaching out to the Korean government to help us with our situation.
I would like to ask Jason again. Jason, if you can hear me. So just after this very important engagement between CNMI and the federal government, war broke out in Middle East. So would this ongoing situation right now would have an effect in what's already been agreed initially?
No, the situation that's happening in Iran has nothing to do with, the people that we work with have nothing to do really with what's going on overseas. If anything, maybe Department of War, we actually may see some more, activity or interest by Department of War and Indo-PACOM to actually ramp up stuff in the Pacific. But no, I mean, none of the folks that we're dealing with right now are involved, so we're good.
Thank you.
I just want to add to Joe's comments that OIA is scheduling a meeting, a trip to Korea this month. Jamaica and the chairman of the NDA, Warren Bobos, and I were there, including Justin Lee of the Department of Interior. We met with Korean Air, Jeju, and KFTC, and Mullet, the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport. So we made that initial meeting with them, and OIA, Buheg, and I think Justin Reed will be in Korea this month to follow up that meeting. So OIA is in it. They're trying to find ways to assist the CNMI in getting flights back. Air service is our #1 priority right now.
Governor, during your...
Yes.
Can you elaborate also on Deputy Secretary Landa with the governor?
Oh yeah, we met with Deputy Secretary Christopher Lando. He's right below Marco Rubio. And we expressed our concern about air service, the Korean Air and IGIA merger. He's designated his chief of staff, Sidney Nicholas, right, Matt? Correct? So Matt sent an email yesterday. He responded. They're still traveling, but he included 2 additional staff in their office to work with us. And hopefully we can get that, the Department of State to join or support the Department of Interior meetings in Korea.
Gov, just a clarification, during that trip to Honolulu, you had a brief speech about businesses welcome to lease and probably buy land in the Northern Islands. Was that a joke or?
Yes, I did. I invited everybody out before anybody started inviting a lot of people to come to their country, but that's a different issue, you know, and I'm so happy that the Deputy Secretary of State was there and the assistant that had a chance to talk to them about the Korean issue, so I think he assigned the assistant to look into that issue and hopefully that can materialize since OIA will be in Korea sometime this month. The difference between us and Palau and the other independent countries here is that we have to go through the State Department to deal directly with the foreign countries, you know, like the head of foreign countries. So I'm happy that the Department of State will be looking into that.
But the sales joke, they're not welcome to buy land because in the Northern Islands, right? That was a joke.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
You can come and lease the land.
Just have a light moment there, that's
okay.
Speaking of economic development, Governor, do we have anything new about Zone Motors yet? We haven't heard much about that for a long time.
They're working hard. Now they're picking up the piece that they need to do, right?
Yeah, I'm on the CETA board, and yes, they continue to work hard. I understand a couple of days ago that they're looking at submitting their applications for mandates and QC, if not this week, then next week. We don't know what will be contained in their application, but it's a great starting point for further discussions there. Also at CETA, we're working with a pharmaceutical manufacturing company that has already submitted their QC application. And that application is going through the due diligence phase. And we hope, we'll talk to the governor and the agencies to expedite that as best as we can. And we just had a team from CETA return from a road show through Asia. We stopped in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines at the invitation of Select USA to participate in investment conferences there. And the CNMI was one of only 4 U.S. jurisdictions that were invited So we took advantage of that privilege and did our best to showcase what the CNMI offers to investors. So while we're working on air service and Annex 6 and EVS staff and fiscal reform, we're also working on attracting new investors at the same time. Hope to provide a more detailed report when the applications are reviewed.
Thank you.
All right, so that's it, right? No more questions? We're done? Okay, go ahead.
Just one question. Aside from birth tourism, what other disinformation was expressed to you guys that you have to explain?
Birth tourism and birth tourism.
That's the big one.
Overstaying.
Overstaying.
That was a real eye-opener for me. I had heard the criticism about overstays, but when we met with CBP and ICE, they shared with us the statistics that the overstay rate under the EVS TAP program is 0.25%. 0.25 or 1%, which is, they were committed, actually, they committed us on that.
The other concern with all those Chinese that were actually trying to get to Guam, and that was going up, but that's only a rare incident, you know. They didn't make it to Guam and they got caught and then they were brought back for second. So I think they're paying the Department of Correction for overstaying.
Governor, what are your thoughts about the conflict in Iran right now? What's your message to our service members?
Well, I just want to say congratulations, President Trump. You did what you need to do. I just want to say thank you to all our service members that are serving there, and we pray for all of them as they return to the U.S. I know it's something that when we sign up for young forces, that's part of the duty you expect to do.
Aren't you worried that it might hit us economically since this might result in an increase in gas prices?
Well, that's what they're saying, but I hope not. I think the U.S. has a lot of fuel. We got Alaska, and we're pumping out, fuel with real baby real Alaska, so there's a lot of oil in the U.S. Although Iran has a lot of oil, but so has Venezuela, and hopefully that the people of Iran can have peace and democracy. That's what you're asking for.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Judge. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you back here. Appreciate it.
Governor's conference.
Congresswoman, you there.
Make our way down.